There isn't really anything else on television quite like Moonshiners. The Discovery reality show focuses on the life and times of both legitimate and outlaw distillers working to make some serious hooch in the Appalachian region of the U.S. over the course of the last decade or so. Fans have become familiar with an array of different distillers and learned a wealth of knowledge about their lives. One such face, who became a fan favorite over the years, is Mark Rogers, a veteran liquor maker who knows his way around a distilling operation. However, some fans are concerned about his future on the show. With that being said, is Mark leaving Moonshiners? Keep reading to find out what we know. Fans on Reddit are concerned that Mike's time on the show is over. To further that, his MD cites that his time on both Moonshiners and Master Distiller came to an end in 2022. Nonetheless, Mark was an active member of the show's cast for a decade, and it led him to become a force within the moonshine industry. Aside from his independent work, Mark has teamed up with legitimate operations such as Sovalin's Distilling Company to sell commercial variants of his now famous moonshine blends. With no public social media pages that he could use to update fans about his career moves, it appears as though viewers will simply have to wait and see if Discovery or any other network make announcements of Mark's participation in any future shows. Nonetheless, the whole decade plus of Mark's time on Moonshiners is available for streaming on Discovery+. Thanks to his work over the years on reality television, Mark Rogers has reportedly accumulated a modest net worth. According to Mr. Article, Mark had an estimated net worth of roughly $300,000 in 2021. Furthermore, it's estimated that Mark made roughly $5,000 per episode that he appeared on Moonshiners. What we know about Mark Rogers' fate on Moonshiners, the world of reality television, has produced a multitude of characters who spark intrigue, fascination, and sometimes outright confusion. One such figure is Mark Rogers, a regular on the Discovery Channel's hit series Moonshiners. The show, which delves into the underground world of illegal moonshine production, has introduced audiences to a variety of personalities who are deeply entrenched in this centuries-old craft. But Mark Rogers is a unique character who stands out for his backstory, involvement in the show, and the mystery that surrounds his fate. Since its debut in 2011, Moonshiners has drawn attention not just for its portrayal of illegal liquor production, but for the often eccentric and larger-than-life characters who participate. Mark Rogers became a fan favorite due to his calm demeanor, sharp wit, and skilled craftsmanship. His passion for the art of moonshining, alongside his personal struggles and the challenges he faces in maintaining his business, adds a layer of drama that kept viewers tuning in. However, over the years, Rogers has faced obstacles, both personal and professional, that have led to questions about his current involvement in the series and what ultimately became of his moonshining career. The early days, a passion for the craft. Mark Rogers' journey into the world of moonshining wasn't a decision made on a whim. It was rooted in tradition and a love for craft distilling that had been passed down through generations. Moonshining is often seen as part of the southern U.S. culture, especially in areas like the Appalachian Mountains, where Mark hails from. His roots in this environment set him on a path that led to a deep connection with the craft. On Moonshiners, Mark quickly became known for his skill and attention to detail. His approach to the craft was methodical and precise. He wasn't just making liquor for profit, but rather creating something that could be appreciated for its quality. His distillation process was presented as one of the more traditional methods on the show, which garnered respect from both his fellow Moonshiners and the audience. His hands-on approach to his craft made him a standout, especially since much of the series focused on the more wild or reckless Moonshiners who often got themselves into trouble. In his earlier appearances, Rogers appeared calm and collected, and it was clear that he took great pride in his craft. As a self-taught moonshiner, he wasn't one to follow the trends of others, and his approach often reflected his desire to uphold the legacy of traditional moonshine making. This authenticity drew viewers in and made them curious about his fate as the show went on. Mark's time on the show, challenges and triumphs. Mark's involvement in Moonshiners spanned multiple seasons, and throughout this time, he dealt with the constant threat of law enforcement. While moonshining has long been illegal in the United States, particularly in areas where strict alcohol regulations are enforced, the show portrayed these risks for all the participants. For Mark Rogers, this danger was always hovering. The show often depicted him navigating the complex world of keeping his operations covered while maintaining the high standards that he held for his moonshine. Despite the risks involved, Mark never seemed to shy away from the challenge. His presence on the show was framed as the wise, experienced moonshiner who knew how to handle the situation. Yet, at the same time, he faced the same hurdles as his fellow distillers. Throughout his appearances, there were moments where Mark seemed to hit a wall, particularly with his financial struggles. The cost of equipment, the risk of getting caught, and the ups and downs of the alcohol business seemed to weigh on him. One of the most memorable arcs involving Rogers revolved around the challenges of dealing with the law. As his moonshine operation grew more complicated, so did the risk of being raided or arrested. The tension surrounding this reality always created an element of suspense during his appearances on the show. Another notable challenge for Rogers was competition from other moonshiners. As new characters entered the show, Mark's experience sometimes worked against him. Younger, more reckless characters would often push boundaries, and Mark found himself in situations where he had to outsmart his competition or fight to maintain his foothold in the industry. These conflicts added an exciting dynamic to his time on the show, making his fate uncertain as newer, flashier moonshiners sought the spotlight. The disappearance of Mark Rogers, what happened? As the seasons of Moonshiners progressed, fans began to notice Mark Rogers' absence from the later episodes. The sudden disappearance raised many eyebrows and sparked a flurry of speculation. What happened to him? Was he still in the moonshine business? Did he leave the show on his own accord, or was something more serious at play? At first, some viewers thought that Rogers might have stepped away from the show voluntarily. Many characters come and go over the course of reality TV series, and it wasn't uncommon for someone to leave due to personal reasons, contractual disputes, or a desire for privacy. However, as time passed, it became clear that there was more to the story than just a voluntary exit. There were rumors that Mark Rogers had gotten into trouble with the law, which could have forced him to step away from Moonshiners. Moonshine production is illegal, and moonshiners often find themselves under the watchful eyes of law enforcement. Given the volatile nature of the business, it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility that Mark had encountered legal issues that required him to retreat from the public eye. In a world where being caught producing moonshine could lead to heavy fines or even imprisonment, it wouldn't be surprising if Rogers had to lay low for a while. Further compounding this theory was the fact that Mark seemed to be dealing with personal struggles as well. On the show, he was depicted as a man who had worked hard to build his business, but the strain of managing a moonshine operation was clear. The combination of business pressures, the constant threat of arrest, and the competition from newer moonshiners likely took a toll on his mental and physical well-being. This may have played a role in his decision to step away from the spotlight. Despite these rumors, the producers of Moonshiners have kept relatively quiet about the true reasons behind Mark Rogers' absence. He has not been directly involved in any public controversies or scandals that have been widely reported. His departure from the show remains a mystery, and fans continue to speculate about what really happened. Whether it was a personal decision, a legal issue, or something else entirely, Mark's fate on the show remains uncertain. What we can infer from the show's depiction, while the exact details of Mark Rogers' exit from Moonshiners remain unclear, there are several things that we can infer from his portrayal on the show. First and foremost, Mark appeared to be someone who valued tradition and craftsmanship. Unlike many of the more chaotic or brash characters on the show, Mark was grounded in his approach to moonshining. This suggests that he likely took great pride in his work, and it's reasonable to assume that he would not have abandoned the craft without a good reason. Another inference that can be made is that Mark likely faced some kind of personal or professional hardship that led to his decision to leave the show. His character arc throughout the series indicated a man who was struggling with the pressures of running a business in such a high-risk environment. The weight of constantly evading law enforcement and competing in a cutthroat market may have become too much for him to handle. Finally, it's important to remember that Moonshiners is a reality TV show, and much of what happens on screen is edited and dramatized for